that has been inflicted upon each other in the pursuit of what everybody says is important at that time. That is this sort of tainted, if you will, or the suffering or the horrors of humanity that have been perpetrated upon one another through the survival consciousness and through that. So when you see a big celebrity have a downfall and everyone's saying, oh, well, this person's done horrible things, terrible things, has this person really done, is this person really responsible for every horrible thing of that nature on the planet right now? Or is this the person that you're all looking at, projecting on and saying is the one who's doing all the evil, quote unquote, when many of these acts have been going on and are still going on all the time?
So why do you think it's surfacing right now for all of us to look at and it's a big story?
Yes, it's a big story because, again, you are having a time in your human consciousness where you get to choose. Do we still want these storylines? Do we want the stories of violation? Do we want the storylines of rape? Do we want the storylines of whatever it is that you are projecting onto, whether it's politicians, celebrities, serial killers, whatever it is? There's a fascination.
Welcome to Spread Your Third Eye podcast. I am your host, Mia Reitz, and we are going to spread that third eye wide open and take you beyond the veils into other dimensions with my girl, Georgia Jean.
Woo-hoo.
Coming through with a circle of light.
That's right, coming through vibrationally hot, hot, hot.
Don't forget, guys, to push the subscribe button so you can hear the next episode and the next one, because these come through each episode with energy attunements.
Yeah, that's right. It's not only the words that we're speaking. Every time I bring in the circle, and a lot of times, even when it's just me speaking as well, the circle's energy is here, it's present. And so every show is kind of like a bit of a free energy attunement, healing, whatever you want to call about it. So bing on that subscribe button and get your vibration raised.
So, I've had a lot of people bring up this P. Diddy subject. And I don't know what the Circle of Light is going to say about the details about this, but I think this is a hot topic because I think we're all noticing a lot of the deep underbelly of shadow in each person, especially on the media, is really coming to the forefront. So what do you think about addressing some of this celeb P. Diddy drama, a little explanation from a higher dimension?
Yeah, sure, definitely. And I will say, if anyone's listened to my other podcast coming out of the Cosmic Closet, because I was also in entertainment for a long time, to me, it was always very interesting to see who were the people that I knew personally that rose up more into success. And I found particularly in comedy, and obviously this happens in many different art forms, how influential their points of view would become, because they were like, in comedy, people are like writing jokes about stuff and they're expressing a lot of strong opinions that people will resonate with because they're going through stuff themselves. So in comedy, you can kind of recognize your own, like what we call the little me, like your own, petty,
human, personal,
like bratty, inner child aspects of sort of comedians like mine that sort of, that kind of pettiness basically to write comedy. But to me, it was very interesting, just putting the art form aside, the ones that were actually supported and raised up and became more influential and got shows and that kind of stuff. So it's definitely been a topic of interest of mine for a long time, how, culture shapes consciousness.
Okay. Well, what do you think? Should we bring the circle in?
Just
get right to it?
Yeah, let's
P.
bring
Diddy.
them in.
Let's go, guys.
She's going to really put me in the hot seat today.
Bring in the higher dimensional perspective on P. Diddy and all this bullshit.
On Puff's white parties. Let's go. Because, we're into the deep topics here. We did more the other day, so
Yes.
we can do a little P. Diddy
Yeah, we got to
today.
keep it light and fun
Keep it light.
sometimes.
It's going to be the same thing.
Yeah. Storylines, reflection of you.
People, mirror, mirror on the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Well, who knows, though?
Yeah, we'll
I
see.
don't like to speak for the circle. Yes, indeed, dear ones. We are here and we are most delighted to make connection with you here on another magnificent day in your earth plane. All right, dear ones. So we're most delighted to be here on ET Weekly, Extra Dimensional Weekly, as
Gossip
opposed
page.
to, Entertainment Weekly, where we will roll with it. So ask away. What would you like to know, dear one?
Well, we're seeing P. Diddy and a lot of celebrities in the hot seat. They're getting caught up on, doing things that were really dark. And I think a lot of us would look at the celebrities and idealize them. And really, I think there's a dark underbelly of what's going on. And I don't know if you want to touch on this. I know this is probably a storyline, but you could talk about, it's a storyline about the Illuminati, maybe even reptilians that are running the world, quote unquote. Just let's talk about all this stuff that is coming up on the big screen right now.
Indeed. And we understand that even out there in the spiritual communities and in the world of people searching for why is reality being experienced by the collective of humanity as it is, there's a lot of talk about things such as the reptilians, the Illuminati, this concept of a very omnipotent force that is of a denser nature controlling the entire reality experience of humanity, because all of these stories talk about this sort of usurping of power from the common man and channeling that into self-invested interests, basically, regardless of the suffering that it may cause for other people. So all of this deep shadow projection, and you will notice that even in the storylines, there's a lot of languaging, how these things are represented in your news, in your social media. Even you will see that mainstream television or even mainstream politicians, all of this stuff will start to use the same languaging, this sort of, whatever they're saying, deep state, the dark underbelly, all this kind of stuff. And it's very interesting for us to observe the human experience from a much broader perspective, in a sense, sort of chasing its tail on this one, because when there is a lot of investment in the projected storylines, there isn't a lot of self-reference in the exploration for why these things even exist as facts or fiction. It doesn't really matter. The reality is, from an energy perspective, most of you will never understand 99% of what each other is experiencing. And you will project your own unintegrated consciousness on one another, trying to have a relationship with that aspect of all consciousness by pushing it up over there, over there, over there, over there. So
Wait, so let me just clear that up.
Yes.
So you're saying that this is a projection, if you will, from humanity's collective consciousness of what's really going on deep inside us as a mirror, in a way, if you will?
Yes. And remember, dear ones, we want to help you understand that there is a big difference between how you consciously experience yourself, and the vast majority of how you are generating your reality is coming from your unconscious programs. meaning including what we've talked about before, the biological programs that are deep in your biology, deep in your genetic makeup, deep in the nervous system, the survival system, et cetera, et cetera. So which one would you like us to start with? P. Diddy, the Illuminati?
Let's start with P. Diddy because is with him raping or taking advantage of, using his power, children. So why don't we address those issues that we're seeing that are scaring us? We are fearful of that in our everyday life in a lot of ways, right?
Yes, indeed. And we can certainly understand why people feel horror and shock and are aghast at such things. And there are also such things that humanity consciousness as a collective is trying to evolve beyond. But you also have to remember that historically, throughout the history of humanity, these acts, these actions have been going on the whole time.
Yeah.
So what is happening with someone like P. Diddy is now you have a very bright, big figure for you to see it. But we guarantee you that whatever he is being accused of or whatever is being going down as this thing that is taking America by storm is happening and has happened throughout the planet and throughout the history of humanity. So when a figure like P. Diddy arises, and we've shared this concept before that it is the nature of the hierarchical structure of the survival system that you tend to put people up on a pedestal. And you not only put people up on a pedestal, human figures, you also put energetic characters up on a pedestal. You can even say you put God up on a pedestal instead of recognizing that you yourself are an aspect of God consciousness, of all consciousness. You say, oh, God's up there, P. Diddy's up there. Now, these other power players, they're all up there or up there and down there, because very often that which is put up on a pedestal as the mind is trying to find its relationship with itself, there's often a fall as well. It's up on a pedestal, and now it's down below. And this is because at all costs, the mind wants to avoid the state of union, which is the oneness with everything. So many of these public figures have these great downfalls. Does that make sense?
So...
And we want to just give you the understanding too, in the past, before television, before videos, before the media as you know it and the creative entertainment system as you know it, many societies use the concepts of gods and deities to project unconscious or unintegrated aspect of self onto these larger than life characters.
What give me an example of what they're projecting, what unconscious, unintegrated piece of them that they're rejecting, and what am I rejecting to put somebody else up on the pedestal?
So when somebody's up on the pedestal, half the time you are rejecting your own magnificence and giving that power to them.
Okay.
So just in the same way that in ancient Greece, in Egypt, in ancient Rome, there are the pantheons of gods and goddesses who are given this archetypal power, and that people worship them in order to feel some sense of alignment with that quality. So somebody like P. Diddy in the success phase is having, people are loving this character, or that your Kardashians, or why are people adoring these people? They're certainly no more exceptional than anybody else, but they are embodiments of certain qualities that people want more of. Wealth, power, attractiveness, magnetic power. Most of the time, it is power. Power, the power to create, the power to generate. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They've got all the power to access everything. They can make things happen.
Yeah.
They can be
Opportunities,
creators,
money,
opportunities, all of this stuff. Underneath it all is this concept of power. And that's why we keep coming here to say, you are powerful, infinite and powerful beings. Stop giving all your projectional energy to this pantheon of deities that you call celebrities. Or if you are doing that, recognize that instead of just continuously giving them all the power, see what it is that you're trying to align with in that kind of celebrity worship, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that's just a general concept for you to work with. Like you can, if you really feel a lot of, because we're always talking about, is there charge? In adoration, there's charge, and in horror, there's charge. Both of these are very highly energized states. Does that make sense to you? One, so you're like, oh, that's terrible, or oh, that's magnificent, and it's really that illusion of separation that is keeping you in this state where they're up on top of the world, and you, dear ones, who, and in the grand scheme of the things, are giving the paycheck of your time, your attention, even your purchasing power into what they are saying is the way to go. You're giving your energy to them.
So how do you bring your energy back and empower yourself with a role model that you want to be like?
Yes. So we teach a lot of the love and acceptance to sit with that energy and say, okay, I love it. So say love the Kardashians or whatever, and they've got fantastic skin or whatever it is, they're beautiful, powerful, whatever. You just say, okay, I love and accept the part of me that has fantastic skin. I love and accept the part of me that has the power to bring anything into manifestation that I want. I love and accept, and literally see all of that energy that you've projected onto them come off of them like streaks and balls of light. Pull it off them. You will notice that there are a lot of figures that will have this kind of rise and fall, because everybody who sort of buys into the pedestalization of these characters puts all their energy into them, and then maybe their attention goes elsewhere. They start to extract that energy from that pedestalization. Now, in the storyline, that might look like A, the celebrity has a big fall, or B, they just kind of disappear from sight. They, in a sense, they get uncreated as that power figure, and then maybe they just go off and live a life, some other life, basically. But when you say, I'm sorry,
when you say uncreated, is that like an illusion, if you will, in one aspect of the highest dimension perspective?
Yes.
Is this like an illusion of a movie set that we are playing?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's all an illusion.
But is P. Diddy real?
Is P. Diddy real? Well, it's as real as anything in your illusion. It's as real as Georgia is sitting here.
But I can touch her, I can fist bump her.
Yes. And so this is very interesting. So a lot of the times, most of these public figures that get, on this sort of framework, and we will address more of the shadow consciousness, but we want you to all to really understand this idea more deeply, because it's such a wonderful way for you to empower yourselves, dear ones, to really understand that you can extract so much of your creative power by simply harvesting your energy back off of these celebrities that you've raised up. And in a sense, if they are holding something that you want to embody it, see, this person is my creation, because everything that you are perceiving is your creation. And we know that's a real mind bender, because you'll be saying, well, how if I'm watching Georgia channel on this show, how is that my creation, whilst at the same time Georgia is channeling on the show saying, well, this is my creation, looking at me or looking at the camera. But this is, remember, you are all from an interconnected weave of energy. So we're always bringing it back to that core interconnected weave of energy, your consciousness exploring itself in many different forms, in many different fractal expressions. So when you have someone that you've raised up a lot that way, and a lot of your belief structures of what success is, what matters. Remember, you have an inherited hierarchical structure that is telling you this is what is important here. In another country, it would be something else. This is what is important here. In another time in history, this is what is important here. Why do beauty standards change? Why does fashion change? In the organism, both of creativity and of the flow of abundance, there are always people creating meaning around what is important. And collectively, people get into that rhythm and raise that thing up. And after a while, because you are creators that want to keep exploring creation, you start to pull your energy from saying, well, that thing's important, and then you put it over here. And that's okay, because it's part of creativity. No one's saying, well, that's a terrible thing to do. However, what happens is, if you don't understand that as consciousness creators, you are assigning that importance to thing and then removing that importance to things, it's very easy for you to start to get into that unworthiness when you are not that current thing.
Okay.
And that unworthiness and that feeling less than is the opposite of the pedestal. So if you have someone on the pedestal and you have yourself down here, there's a sense of an unworthiness that is innate in that separation between the desire points. And because you also are programmed by the survival structure, there are many things that have happened throughout the history of humanity that has been inflicted upon each other in the pursuit of what everybody says is important at that time. That is this sort of tainted, if you will, or the suffering or the horrors of humanity that have been perpetrated upon one another through the survival consciousness and through that. So when you see a big celebrity have a downfall and everyone's saying, oh, well, this person's done horrible things, terrible things, has this person really done, is this person really responsible for every horrible thing of that nature on the planet right now? Or is this the person that you're all looking at, projecting on and saying is the one who's doing all the evil, quote unquote, when many of these acts have been going on and are still going on all the time?
So why do you think it's surfacing right now for all of us to look at, and it's a big story?
Yes, it's a big story because, again, you are having a time in your human consciousness where you get to choose, do we still want these storylines? Do we want the stories of violation? Do we want the storylines of rape? Do we want the storylines of whatever it is that you are projecting onto, whether it's politicians, celebrities, serial killers, whatever it is? There's a fascination with this. Why are people so interested? Why are people more interested in this than what they're making for dinner, which is their actual life? Why are they more drawn to it and in the magazines?
The drama.
And the drama. They love the drama. And what is drama? Drama is energy.
Okay.
Drama is this charge that we're talking about. Drama is energy. Drama is charge. Drama is power.
So that's why we're attracted to it so much, because there's a lot of energy.
Yes,
there.
yes. And you all want more energy. You actually all want more power.
Yeah.
Now, here's really what's interesting is because there is this aspect of your mind that doesn't want you to be more powerful than you are, because it would bust open its framework shell that encases you, it will also generate these storylines that you look at and say, wow, well, that person got a lot of power, and then they just turned into a terrible person, and they abuse the power and they misuse the power, and power itself must be a bad thing.
Oh. So your mind is kind of projecting that.
Yes.
But what about the victims, if they were to hear this, or people who've been a victim of violence or sexual abuse?
Yes.
They might be triggered right now saying, well, what do you mean that actually did happen to me? Why would you call that an illusion or a projection?
Yes. And we certainly would say all of your illusions are very real for you. And we would always say, we're never brushing under the rug that suffering is happening.
Yeah.
The suffering is happening. What we're speaking specifically now about is why the collective gets fascinated with one storyline over another.
Okay.
Why is the collective fascinated by P. Diddy and what he's been doing more than maybe even a strange person who lives down the street?
Okay.
There can be what we call about this is the shiny toy of distraction. If everybody is spending their focus and attention on this story and living in the shock, the horror, the outrage, the judgment, etc., they are still giving energy to this archetype, and they are still, by their mind's design, avoiding the way that they can reclaim their own power. And so that's why we call it a shiny toy. Your mind creates these things which is shiny and full of energy, and it could be wonderful, like the beauty queens, or disgusting and terrible, or anything in your reality where you're really toying with it with your mind. You're trying to have a relationship with this energy. If you are attracted to this energy in some way. And so what we want to give to those dear ones who have experienced these sorts of experiences is that...
Which sort of experiences? Like actual...
Experienced being abused, or experienced having these things, is it's even more important that those dear ones reclaim their power from those experiences for themselves. And why dear ones get if you call it triggered or whatever, is, of course, there is trauma. There can be trauma in the nervous system. These experiences can be reminders of experiences they have. For many people, this is why people feel upset, the idea of violation, and yet, if you focus here on P. Diddy, you're not looking, well, do I have an aspect of me that has felt violated, that I need to come into a deeper relationship with myself, with the love and acceptance, with the recognizing that a part of me is still hurting. And that part of you could be apart from this lifetime, or an aspect that is incarnated within you that is from other lifetimes. Again, that history of humanity. He is representing planetary themes. In your society today, the concept of age, when people should or shouldn't be having intercourse, did they have the right to this or not, doesn't mean a thing compared to medieval times, for example. So this is what we're trying to help you understand, that in the tapestry of the human collective...
What do you mean doesn't mean a thing, like age, like children and adults?
In medieval times, there's no age of consent, or if someone's a child or not. Even in your slave times as well, dear ones. There was powerful figures have always taken advantage without rules or regulations, vulnerable people in the population for their own purpose. And in other cultures and societies, it hasn't even been a feeling of an abusive situation as it would be within the framework of meaning that you have in Western civilization, let's say.
Well, I wanted to just touch on when you say the unintegrated parts of you that may have felt triggered of some kind of sexual abuse or something like that.
Indeed.
And when you say love and acceptance, people might be like, oh, you want to love and accept the part of me. But I just want to clear up, like, when you feel triggered or trauma or angst or hurt, when you do remember any type of sexual abuse in your life, when you love and accept that, you're actually just bringing your energy back to oneness to help move that trauma. You're not actually loving the part of you that actually had been.
So when we talk about, because we'll also say love and accept the part of you that is an abuser, because in a past life you may well have been that abuser, for example. So when you're coming back into the concept of the oneness in terms of that energy that is everything, that ocean of energy, that is all consciousness. All consciousness includes everything. Everything. It includes the suffering storylines of humanity. It includes the abuse. It includes the all of these things. They're already woven into the tapestry of the collective experience. But when you judge, when you stay in the concept of the little me, and we understand that you all have preferences and that's completely fair enough, but when you stay in that state of strong judgment, you are actually keeping those storylines alive.
Okay, by resisting, the more you resist, the more it persists.
So the more people are busy pointing their fingers over here, instead of going, wow, that really hits me here, is there a part of me that on some level is resonating with some theme or aspect of this storyline? Mm-hmm. So if you really want to make this a useful experiment, if you are really fascinated by this storyline and drawn to it, there's work to be done to integrate that aspect of the consciousness, because when you integrate it, it helps dissolve its form.
Okay.
And that frees up this energy to now go into a new creative form.
Yeah.
So why, getting back to your story or your initial question about several villains in different frameworks, you've got the celebrity villain, you have the Illuminati villains that cross all levels of society and all levels of society that speak to power. Mm-hmm. And you have the reptilians, who are the multidimensional villains. Mm-hmm. You have all of these villains that different people are projecting at different times this villainry on. All of that is again, we'll say, by identifying the themes that these villains are perpetrating, supposedly, because we want to be clear that we are not here to tell you whether these storylines are true or false. Okay. We're here to help you understand why, as a collective, you have a lot of attention on this, and you're trying to fix it. You're trying to get rid of all the villains. You're trying to defeat the Illuminati. You're trying to defeat the reptilians. You're trying to defeat the P. Diddy's of the world.
Yeah.
Understandable. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the more you stay in the storylines with it, the longer you're going to have those storylines.
So we all each individually need to integrate aspects of ourselves in that storyline in order to alchemize.
Transcend it, move beyond it, just move beyond it. But when you see this, and we will say, again, because of the survival consciousness, the programs of control, domination, pedestalizing, hierarchical structure are innate in the survival system. It all goes back to one pretty basic piece of biology that you all have and that you're all collectively running off to a certain degree. The reptilians, it's sort of the reptilian brain. It projected into the multidimensional. Now, the reason why we like to come in and bust some of these storylines is because when people feel disempowered, they're more inclined to give more power to these stories. And in certain frameworks, such as the Illuminati, such as the reptilians, if you were in the music industry, you might say the music industry or the P. Diddy's of the music industry. If you give these things more power, you are disempowering yourself over and over and over again. The storyline is the storyline that is taking your joy for living away, because you include in these storylines, there's a sort of a frequency of futility here.
Yeah.
The reptilians are this omnipotent force that are so strong and powerful that even if people tried to rise up against them, they would be crushed and destroyed by them. The Illuminati are so strong and powerful that even if all the working class people of the world gathered up, they would still have more power and crush and destroy them. It's all interwoven into the tapestry. And what we want you to understand, that these are the power programs you have embedded in yourselves. If you want to live in a reality that is beyond this, use these storylines to become conscious, to identify. And this is what's happening when you see these storylines, is they are shooting forth those rockets of desire. We don't want to live under oppression anymore. We don't want to live under financial domination, under control domination. But you're creating such omnipotent horror show storylines that you're seeing it, but you're not understanding how to move beyond it, because now that storyline becomes the distraction. That storyline becomes the focus for your mind to obsess on over there, all the while ignoring the grand power center that you are right here and that you have in your heart right now. So there's two things going on. The seeing of the villains sends forth those rockets of desire. We as a human collective, we don't want these stories of abuse anymore. We don't want this villainy anymore. Yeah. We don't want the disempowerment anymore. But you get stuck at that level. And if you come into your heart and stay there for a while, the heart is already creating reality beyond these storylines.
The survival mind, the hierarchy,
yes,
all
because
that
it
stuff.
doesn't operate underneath that system, because it knows that you're already valuable. Everybody is infinitely valuable and worthy. You can't have a hierarchy when everybody is seated in the power of their own worth. You have a new creation, and you don't know what that new creation is yet. So instead, what you're seeing is this sort of disaster landscape as your old creation is tumbling down, because these structures within your frameworks are breaking down. The storylines are following the frequency shift.
Nice.
You're seeing these terrible things happen on these projected characters because your internal structures that would generate them are starting to break down.
So I wanted to, make a point about that. If you know about the law of attraction, that nothing will actually be in your reality unless you vibrate at some level with it. So when you see something like that, it's actually a mirror for you to go in and do this inner work to, alchemize the trauma and the oppression and all the stuff that you actually feel inside of you. So this is a calling card, if you will. And then get into your heart center, which I always like to remind everybody, getting into your heart center is not just like, oh, I'm just going to be in love and just be in love. Getting into heart center is literally feeling the center of your chest right now, relaxing. And just put your awareness in the center of your chest and do that as much as you can. And that's activating your heart center. If you pop out and you start thinking with your mind, I love and accept the part of me that is resisting being my heart. And so that is how I think we're going to take these storylines and use it as something. A
way to transcend.
Yes, a way to transcend. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is going in. These things are popping up right now because this is something that we are going to need to heal within us. Because if you want to go into a new world, into the 5D, quote unquote, it's about doing the inner work. There's other dimensions and other planetary.
There's another bandwidth of creation for you to experience life on, and. Again, we don't want to minimize the experiences of people who may have been in those storylines.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But remember, most of you have no idea what that storyline is. Most of you will never know what happened, what was said. Most of the time, most of you, in any conversation that you're having with someone else, still are not getting the absolute truth of anyone's meaning, because it's often filtered through your own perception and projection. So you have very little interactions with people that are 100% in pure clarity. We agree exactly on what is happening right now. And that's why public figures become a very convenient distraction, because if you're focused on P. Diddy, you're probably not focused on your heart right now. You're probably, and everybody, Georgia
just
does
getting
it,
the tea,
everybody
just
does.
sipping with my brain, my mind.
But if you feel really strongly, if it's more than just a sort of a curiosity because you're bored, a little bit of a shiny toy, it'd be like, oh, what's going on there? It's like a TV show.
Yeah.
It's like a TV show for you to watch. You believe it is real, and it is real, but it's not the same show that your mind is saying it is.
Okay.
Indeed. Yes.
Is there anything else you want to touch on this subject, or?
If you really look at these themes, what you will start to find is that your fascination with public figures and public concepts of control will start to lose interest for you. If you are still feeling really compelled by big archetypal stories, big entities that feel like they have a lot of power over you, big agencies, if you're not happy with these bigger people, organizations, you probably have quite a bit of work to do to reclaim and re-embody your own consciousness power in this lifetime. And we're not trying to smack you on the wrist about that. We're trying to say these storylines are an opportunity not for you to feel hopeless, futile, and disempowered, but to actually say, okay, I see the themes here. This is energy I need to pull back to me, because I incarnated in this life to be my own powerhouse. And because of the illusions that you inherited when you were born from your parents, all of these things, you received the imprints that others have this power and they're better off and I don't. That is what creates the strength of the egoic framework that actually keeps you in separation from your abundance, from your creative expression being fully empowered, from you being able to do and be and achieve and manifest and have the joyful life that you want. So don't get distracted by these storylines. Instead, reclaim the energy from these projections and give yourself the power to be fully embodied as the creative genius that you are. Mm-hmm. You are all creative geniuses in your own right. Mm-hmm. Now, it's okay to enjoy and be inspired by other creative geniuses that look like they're putting it out there, but don't get caught at that level. Go, if they're a creative genius, so am I. And I'm going to sit with that. I'm going to pull it back. I'm going to embody it and hold in me. Wow, look what's coming out of me now. I'm not the one sitting on the couch watching these people. I'm out there sitting on the couch watching these people on TV. I'm out there in my life living the experience of my creative genius, fully expressing. Do you want to be distracted or do you want to be it?
Yeah, I love that. All about empowerment.
Indeed,
living your dream life, being in abundance and freedom and joy and have time. And
there's enough. There's enough. We want you to understand, again, this is an abundance playing field. When you see these structures of hierarchical power and you put people up on a pedestal, you're innately buying into there's not enough for everybody. There'll always be the minions and the powerful ones.
Okay.
But when you're in your heart, you are creating from an infinite source field, and there is enough, and there's enough for everybody, and you're here to experience your life.
That's great.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that.
Dear ones. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, let's end there.
Indeed, we will bring back the channel.
Okay.
Hey.
That was good.
Yeah.
It's all about empowerment and living your dream life. In the very end, communing with the things that you want, or the Kardashian, all the things you want, commune with that. Absorb that creation that and bring those codes onto you by just like
by just like resonating, and whatever it is for you. Like I love beautiful dances and stuff like that, and I'm like so amazed by the work that beautiful dancers do, and I love to just sit and like commune with that, because actually as part of embodiment we're trying to bring more of this power into our own bodies. So I feel like that's probably why movement people really get my attention, because I'm like, man, they have this creativity fully embodied in them, and they're doing this really beautiful thing. So it's kind of like that's a fascination that I have, and especially as I'm quote unquote getting older, we have so many belief structures about age and limitations on the body.
Yeah.
To sit and commune with people who are really in their power in their bodies, it's just like a great archetype to unify with, rather than be like, oh, well, that can never be me. It's just like sit there and be
that's
like, wow,
an archetype for
that.
you.
Yeah.
Showing you that can be you.
Yeah, exactly. And, this is like easy. It's fun stuff to play with, because now we're really getting into that multidimensional stuff. And actually, one sort of thing I think the circle we're trying to get to is that because we are in a linear, singular, egoic identity, linear construct, which isn't multidimensional, this idea of using archetypes to embody new powers, let's just say, is threatening to our minds. So again, why are we collectively manifesting these storylines where people who have had that power are now these terrible people? And I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying why is this a big thing right now? And these structures are breaking down. Is because it's also threatening to our linear mind to say, oh, like I can kind of sit and resonate with someone who's an embodiment of, great creativity, or a great dancer, and kind of download that, like Keanu Reeves does in The Matrix, like, now I know karate, that's a very threatening concept to our minds. So that's why we'll start to see these sort of horrible archetypes, like you don't want to be like these people. And that's nothing to do with like what this or that person has done. It's just about why we often see these storylines of power out of control, because we ourselves fear our own power.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. You're welcome for the energy 2 minutes on that.
Even like some people will watch this and say, oh, whatever, the circle of light's so wise and expansive or whatever. That's you. Receive that. The energy attunements are actually that opportunity for you to resonate in with that expansive wisdom and that creative power that they come through with, and that ability to reconnect us to our creative power. If you just sit and kind of be with that, it doesn't have to just be like about being this, that, or the, like, being, whatever, like, like it's celebrity powerful. It could be you're great authors, you're great, spiritual leaders, you're great inventors.
Yeah.
All of that, they're all archetypes, and you somewhere in your codes know what you want to embody in your next iteration of yourself.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's fun.
Real quick, I always talk about the Monday Night Awakenings with the Circle of Light. If you're really interested in this work, she has a transmission every Monday, a live transmission. You call in.
You just call in and listen and receive. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's something else that. What about like a workshop or something that you have on your website that helps people a little bit more with this?
With this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
I would say Bend the Matrix is the workshop that we really go into this idea of how to work work with big storylines that are triggering you. Whether it's, like basically this idea of being a charge hunter. So when you look at your matrix of reality, which includes like your sense of your body, your inner world, your direct quantum reality, like this is direct for me, but for you it's indirect because you're watching us through a screen basically. So you're not actually here in the studio physically with us. When there's some charge, like some of the stuff the circle may have been saying, then you might have this, feeling of charge, like, well, that isn't right. It sounds like they're doing this or that. That boot camp teaches you how to find charge from your projectional matrix, pull it back, purify it, and then direct it into the storylines that you want to create. But also there is a specific tool in there that we use for when you're projecting onto like either future aspects, because we do the same thing with ourselves. Like there's this future aspect of me that's in this like amazing relationship, or when I was in comedy, it was always like this future aspect of me that was winning the Oscar, and I'd get. And all these, because that future version of ourselves, we've often given them all the power and all the qualities that we're trying to embody ourselves. So there's a very specific exercise that we use, and I used it with like Vicky Barbalak when she was on America's Got Talent.
Okay,
she was a friend of mine I did comedy with, and then she went on America's Got Talent. And I said, hey, I got all these tools that we kind of bend the matrix, and I want to help you like really expand in your career. So we were doing these tools of how she could become one with her success, not successful Vicky up on the pedestal and out of her reality, which actually creates more nerves and anxiety. When you feel at one with your success, it isn't a nerve-wracking experience. It isn't like, oh my God, that version of me is better than me now. So I'm going to choke up when I have the opportunity to become it.
Okay.
And you can do it with, like all kinds, you can use your celebrity archetypes or whatever to kind of become one with the energy. Get yourself leveled up energetically, and that's how things manifest.
Guys, I don't know if you realize, like the circle of light, this stuff is a big deal. This is like matrix bending, like. And
I've used these tools myself. Like I have really tried and like myself gone, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like, get myself into a parallel reality where this experience is happening, and it has happened.
To understand, this is like the highest of highest perspective, guys. This is like, so I mean, I thank you. I'm so happy that we're doing this together, because this content is big. It's a big deal. It's big. And it's world changing. And I hope that all of you guys can really understand it. If you don't, you should,
because it's not just about being like, say, like, winning an Oscar, which sounds really silly, but it's like using these tools to come into your healthiest body if you're unwell. Using these tools to come into, a reality where, there's a lot more harmony for you. You're out of conflict. I mean, I've experimented with things like my football team winning the grand final in Australia.
Quite literally reality bending, empowering. You are a conscious creator. You are part of the fabric of all consciousness.
Yeah, that's
God,
right.
universe.
Universe, that ocean of energy. So get yourself into the point of that ocean of energy where what you want to be experiencing is happening.
If this isn't the ultimate empowering, stuff, then I don't know what is.
No, it's so empowering.
We're here to create dream lives and dream worlds, quite literally. We're done with this.
We don't want all that shenanigans, all that gnarly stuff.
And I always like to say, what we've been doing has not been working. So this might sound like, whoa, this is pretty wild, but it's time to think outside the box and keep an open mind, because this is.
Yeah, I've seen such profound miracles happen in like my life, in my clients' lives. I mean, I'm not,
This isn't like a joke.
This
is major energy and major information. So I'm happy that you're here to listen to this, because you're aligned with it. So we love you all.
Yeah.
We'll end there.
Yes, indeed. Yeah,
all right.
Love you.
Yeah. And make sure to subscribe and tag your spiritual bestie. Send her whatever episodes that you think she'll love. And we'll see you at the next episode. Love you.
Bye.